he wants to present. Who is that? Let me confirm.
Thank you very much. It is indeed a pleasure to be Applied Science. Vascular University of Applied Science.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and we are looking forward to working together.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kone. And at this juncture, may I welcome Dr. Boma Peter Jacob from Haas University in Netherlands, so that he can share with us his presentation. He is a guest speaker. We're going to get to know the topic that he is going to present today. So, the communication team, you can put him through. The presentation is going to be short because he has been waiting online, and we hope that we can have at least 5 to 10 minutes of his presentation. Okay, I think as we wait for them to align him, you must communicate to him and say we're working on it. I think we can move on. And in view of shortage of time, all the presenters who are going to be to come to share their presentation with us, please take only 5 minutes. Another 5 minutes will be reserved so that we can interact with you and get issues which will not be very clear. I need to have the bell. Okay, we will go according to the schedule. Schedule is 10 minutes of a presentation, 5 minutes of questions. You keep time. So let me call upon Dr. Abdallah Semi, who is from University of Dar es Salaam, to come and present his research in Tanzania. Dr. Abdallah Semi is from University of Dar es Salaam. He has been with us since yesterday, and the organizers of this conference have allowed him to present today for other commitments that he's got tomorrow. Daktari, we would want you to take a short time as possible in view of the many presentations that we've got. Please start.
Thank you very much, Chair. Dear participants, as I've been introduced, my name is Dr. Abdallah Jacob Hussein. I work at the University of Dodoma as a lecturer, and currently I'm acting as the principal of the College of Education, which is one of the 6 colleges Can I proceed? So, I've got two papers that I would like to share with you. The first one is on challenges of inclusive higher education in Tanzania. And I'm looking at the struggles of female students with disabilities during the COVID-19 and after. So globally, there has been a rapid increase in the demand of higher education, and the government of Tanzania commitment to address issues of disability are also expressed in the constitution of the country, whereby it prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities, and has ratified a number of international commitment and the protocols. And currently, this one, the first one. Slideshow. So I was saying the country recognized the issue of disability, and currently it has launched the National Strategy for Inclusive Education. The first one was in 2009 up to 2017, and now the 2017 up to 2021, which has been finalized and has launched another national strategy for inclusive education. In this particular, all these strategies, it emphasizes on widening access to people with a disability in all levels of education, including the higher level education. Also, the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology has also, in collaboration with the World Bank, has embarked on a 5-year program for higher education improvement, which is named as Higher Education for Economic Transformation, HEAT. So, a number of measures were taken worldwide by various universities and colleges during the COVID-19, including having a paradigm shift in teaching, moving to online teaching, utilizing various media such as Google Meeting, Zoom, WhatsApp, and so on and so forth. Now in Tanzania, there arises some challenges despite all those initiatives, and this were related to lack of digital literacy to some of the students and lecturers, inaccessible accommodation in terms of infrastructures in the schools. Some schools, especially those in the remote, had a challenge. Now for students now in the higher learning institutions, also we are facing challenges despite of the number of initiatives that were taken by the government, including having an accessible environment and so on and so forth. So this study explored actually the challenges to inclusivity of female students in the higher education in Tanzania, and how they struggled to overcome these challenges that they faced them. So the study had two objectives to explore. One is to explore the challenges to inclusivity of female higher education students with the disabilities during COVID-19 pandemic in Tanzania. The second one was to examine how female students with the disabilities to inclusivity during COVID-19 in Tanzania. So I used the theory, the theoretical underpinning. I used the social exclusion and inclusion theory, whereby we find that the environment surrounding may tend to exclude some of the people, especially even the students with disability, but then they struggle to make sure that they cope with the situation. Now, I found that this particular theory fits much better in this respect. In terms of methodology, this study was informed by a qualitative approach, and there was a phenomenological design. This one allowed to collect in-depth data on the issues under investigation. And I collected data to a quite number of participants. Total number was 118. The categories of participants included the academic staff, deans of students, or college wardens, also female students with disabilities themselves, the students' leaders, especially those who are representing students with disabilities, their personal assistants, who are assisting the students with visual impairment to walk through. The heads of departments were also. So I collected data using focus group discussion and interview to the key informants. And I used the thematic analysis to analyze the data. Now, the key findings that were found, including, in terms of the challenges, I found that these female students with disabilities were confronted with the challenge of scrambling during fetching some water. You see, in some of the universities in our country, and of course, for example, in Dodoma, due to the shifting of the capital city from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma, the population has grown very tremendously, and therefore making resources, supply of water becomes difficult, and sometimes we have introduced the so-called water rationing, supplying water in some of the days, which now complicates, especially for large universities, and if you have so many students. For example, our university is having about 39 students. So the challenge of fetching water, and there are people with disabilities, and some of the disabilities cannot be recognized easily, so that other students can help them. For example, students who are having hearing impairment, struggling to fetch water, also difficulty in accessing information, especially those who are blind, those with visual impairment. During COVID-19, some of the information were not brought in Braille, and those with hearing impairment, there were no people to translate for them the sign language, so this became a challenge. They also faced academic challenges, especially during examination. There's a challenge of awareness among academic staff who would not even consider, and it has not been put in regulation to consider the students with disabilities, perhaps adding some time so that when they struggle in attending academic matters. And for female students, it becomes a challenge. Sometimes when they are in period, they fail to attend some of the classes, and the teachers are not aware, and they become more vulnerable because they are having disabilities also. Now, to struggle in order to overcome the challenges, these students normally have adopted a number of strategies, like trying to request to get personal assistance based on the agenda, because they are female, so people to read for them, people to translate for them, and also they befriend the students who are not having disabilities so that they can assist them in a number of issues. In fact, this is a qualitative research. In the main paper, I have illustrated all the findings with the voices from the participants. Conclusion, the paper concludes that despite the efforts to implement inclusive education practices in higher education institutions in Tanzania that has been made, there are still challenges that still hamper inclusivity of female students with disability. And in order to overcome this, we are proposing that higher learning institutions in the country needed to have inclusive education policies. Inclusive education policies, or policies that are geared towards students with disabilities. I don't know if you have one here at Meru. Do you have a policy related to students with disabilities?
Yes, sir, we have a disability policy.
Okay. Yeah, ours, we still don't have one, and so perhaps in the future we are going to embrace that one, especially under the higher education transformation project, the HEAT project. I think you are going to address that. Now, thank you very much for attention. That was my first paper. If you can allow me, I proceed with the second.
Session of questions and answers. Also now requesting to share with us the second presentation that he's got, so that we can listen to him, and strictly we want to request all the presenters to adhere to the 10-minute presentation. The bell is going to be rung at 8 minutes. To indicate to you that you've got only 2 minutes to complete the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. May I move to the second paper, which is on we investigated, I and Veronica Kamans, who was not able to come here because of some other commitment. We looked at how teachers in Tanzania understand the phonic instructional approach for the teaching of reading in early grades. That is standard 1 and 2. I'll jump to the abstract, go to introduction. Now, the problem of literacy skills among early grade learners is common in East African countries, and this is according to WEZO and Tanzania EQUIP, that pupils reach to standard 1 and 2, or complete standard 2, without being able, not mastering the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetics. So there were several studies that were done to justify that, like that one of Ngorosho, 2011, and the United Republic of Tanzania has come up now with a curriculum changes that are geared to making sure that the primary school pupils master the reading skills. Now, to do that, the government has proposed and pointed out that phonic instructional approach as one of the strategies that can help the early grade learners to be able to read properly. Now, this study explored the teachers' knowledge, as I have said, on this particular curriculum which has been launched, and also it examined teachers' knowledge on the difference between the phonics instructional approach and other approaches in teaching reading in early grade to early grade learners. Now, the study used a mixed method approach, integrating qualitative and quantitative approaches, and it used a cross-sectional survey to study multiple participants and sets of information at a given time. The study was conducted in 2 districts of Mbeya City. Mbeya is found in the southern highlands of Tanzania. So Mbeya City and Rungwe. Rungwe is also one of the districts in Mbeya region of Tanzania. So the districts were selected as they represent extreme cases of performance in terms of literacy and numerous. So while Mbeya was reported to doing well, Rungwe district was relatively performing poorly. So the students did not exhibit these particular literacy skills properly. So the key findings of the study is that 54.5% of early grade teachers who participated in the study, first of all, they have undergone the training on primary school curriculum through the project which was known as Equip-T. So they undergone that particular training, and that those who attended reported that the training helped them, and therefore they could understand how to teach reading properly, and that it improved their pedagogical skills and can now know how to help struggling readers or students who struggle to master reading. On the other hand, the study revealed that teachers had enough knowledge on phonic instructional approach in teaching reading, especially those who attended the training in that particular project. So it was clear that reading through phonic instructional approach was regarded as the approach which is suitable. And maybe for the interest of, because it might be more specialized, teaching using phonic instructional approach, you teach students how to read by associating letters. You use a letter, a single letter. When then you join the letters, it's whereby they progressively learn. Rather than teaching students using syllables or the whole word, that one can encourage memorization and cramming. So the most preferable now is this one, what I'm saying, the phonic instructional approach. It is recommended that all primary school teachers who teach early grade must be intensively and frequently trained on the phonic instructional approach to help them to have pedagogical knowledge on teaching reading as directed by the national curriculum, the new curriculum of Standard 1 and 2. Thank you very much for your attentive listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let us appreciate Dr. Abdallah Seni for the good presentation and the quick one. And that has made us to save some time. We hold on to our questions and comments until we get to the question answer session. Okay, I'm told Dr. Bowman, who was online, is about to be ready to share with us his presentation. So we should listen to him before we can move to the next presenter. Tony, put him through, please. Dr. Bowman is from the
Now I hear something. Now I can hear you, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We welcome you to this
Now I
session.
can't hear you.
Yes, we welcome you to this session. Please, we're sorry for some technology challenges.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear you. Let's use one computer that is being used. You switch off the other one. Just one computer.
Exactly. Switch off one.
That's why we have echoes.
Chairman, you can go sit where they are sitting when you're talking.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Boma Peter. We welcome you to this session. We're sorry for the challenges that we've experienced. You've now the floor so that you can be able to share your presentation with us. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
Yes, I've already told you.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Okay, welcome to the world of the Haas Green Academy. I like to let me click. I like to explain to you of how we are connecting students, teachers, research with the professional field, and of course connecting the professional field with education. So I like to give you a presentation of my experiences and my practices. First of all, a small introduction of myself. I'm born and raised in a farming environment. I do have an horticultural, educational and economical background. I enjoyed a corporate career for 18 years, of which 14 years both in the Netherlands and in Kenya. I've been involved in the flower industry, in the flower exports of Kenya. After that corporate career, I started as an entrepreneur for just over 6 years. Mainly because of Corona, I had to stop my enterprise, my company, and I decided to start in education. I was invited by the Haas Green Academy to join them, and I'm doing so for the past 3.8 years. So the 1st of September, it will be 4 years, and I really enjoy it. Working with young people gives me a lot of energy, and believe it or not, I learn every single day. And I'm more than happy to share my experiences with you. I made a deliberate choice for Haas Green Academy because it was awarded with as a top university in the Netherlands, mainly because of that we are very capable of connecting the real world with the students' world. And let me briefly introduce Haas Green Academy to you. And I will start with a little clip as a teaser. Oh. Oh, yeah. Sorry. So at Haas Green Academy, a university for applied sciences, we are offering 16 bachelor programs in Dutch and 2 international bachelors. So students from all over the world are studying at our university, and also young people, students from Kenya, they are at our university as well. Of course, we do research under the guidance of 13 professors and 50 lecturer researchers. In total, 550 employees, roughly 3,300 students. We have 2 locations. The main one, Den Bosch, in the south of the Netherlands, 2,800 students, and a small location just at the border with Germany, with 474 students, and 500 professionals are also making use of Haas Green Academy. They are involved in 300 projects. I will explain about those 300 projects later. We are offering 30 in-company training courses. The bachelor programs, I mentioned them here. I'm not going to read them all, but as a lecturer, I'm nowadays involved in the study program International Food and Agribusiness and Business Administration in Agri-Food Business. As Haas University, we work towards a healthy environment with access to enough healthy food. That's what is our aim. So our research programs are having 3 focuses. 1, healthy food and healthy living. 2, healthy food production. And 3, healthy living environments. So each focus area has got a research group in which different professorships are working together on different research lines and with underlying research questions and related projects. Those research groups, in total they are 12, and I go briefly through them. So food and health, green health, design methods in food, protein transition in food, future food systems, food production in a circular economy, business models for regenerative agriculture, climate robust landscapes, connecting agriculture and nature, plant soil health, innovative biomonitoring, healthy farming, and precision livestock farming. And of course, underlying creating and forming a more sustainable world is a very important topic in all our research programs. So our vision and mission at the Haas is summarized in a small animation clip. And you will notice that it will have a different logo because this academical year we changed our name and logo. So this is of the second half of next year, of last year.
Wij zijn Haas Hogeschool, een persoonlijke hogeschool in de sector agro, food en leefomgeving. Wij werken aan een betere toekomst voor onze sector en de wereld. Dit doen we door onderwijs, onderzoek en de beroepspraktijk met elkaar te verbinden. Studenten, medewerkers, organisaties en bedrijven werken samen aan actuele vraagstukken en maatschappelijke uitdagingen in onze sector. Over en weer halen en brengen we kennis. Dit doen we al jaren. En daar zijn we trots op. Onze sector verandert in een rap tempo. Trends en ontwikkelingen bieden oplossingen en uitdagingen voor de toekomst. Ook het onderwijs ontwikkelt zich, met nieuwe didactische inzichten en tools. Bij de Haas verbinden we deze 2 zaken met elkaar, om zo onze studenten voor te bereiden op hun toekomst in het groene domein. We leren studenten om een leven lang te leren. Op zo'n manier dat wij zelf en onze sector ook niet uitgeleerd raken. Immers, leren doe je van en met elkaar. Studenten, docenten, onderzoekers en werkveld gaan samen op zoek naar het antwoord op de vragen van nu en van de toekomst. De rol die je hebt wisselt per vraagstuk. De ene keer ben je expert, de andere keer lerend en onderzoekend. Dat maakt ons onderwijs uitdagend, afwisselend en flexibel. Hassers worden geprikkeld om nieuwsgierig te zijn, hun talenten te ontwikkelen en de regie te pakken. Bij ons geef je invulling aan jouw ambities door zelf je leerroute wat betreft inhoud en aanpak te bepalen. Door onze werkwijze is de HAS meer dan een hogeschool. Met elkaar vormen we een expertisecentrum in agro, voed- en leefomgeving. Klaar om aan te pakken, te leren en te innoveren. Klaar voor de uitdagingen van morgen.
So, a slow development from, let's say, the traditional university to a expertise center, a learning center. And as a HAS, we are not only providing the full daytime education to students, but we are also a partner for organizations, companies and authorities when it comes to exploring, connecting and applying green knowledge and expertise. And we do that as follows. We are offering business courses. We are providing in-company training courses, graduation projects, and again, I will come back to the graduation projects, research, and we are renting out our facilities as well. And as mentioned, 500 professionals attend various business courses at HAS Community Academy. The 300 projects are being carried out on behalf of companies and 30 in-company training courses do take place. But what is the basis? For our daytime students, and let me continue and focus on the daytime students, the full-time daytime students. And I took the example of the study course Business Administration and Agribusiness. So we are dividing it in 3 domains. The A, the domain of agri-food qualifications, B, the general management qualifications, and C, function-specific management qualifications. And I'm not going to discuss them all with you, don't worry, but let's take one example of each domain, and I'm starting with A, domain agri-food qualifications. So one of the learning outcomes for the students is, after 4 years, doing business and innovating in the international agri-food business. And for example, general management qualifications is the learning outcome managing organizations, people, processes and projects, but also function-specific management qualifications. For example, 8, advising on financial aspects of an agri-food company operational management. And I'm showing this because it is actually the basis for our curriculum. And here I'm showing you the curriculum of business administration and agri-food business. And I'm part of it. I'm a lecturer working on this curriculum. So in year 1, we have a number of modules. And in block 1, it's a block of 10 weeks, so the total is 40 weeks. We are offering the module Economy and Market and Business Economics. It's the basis, the basics for the first year students. In block 2, we're offering logistics. Block 3, finance and law, and block 4, organization and science. At the same time, these people who are starting agricultural business administration and agri-food business, we are introducing them to all the agricultural sectors who we know in the Netherlands. So they are exploring and they are visiting all the sectors. And I will come back to the more detailed content in the next slide. We're also offering an international module, so also exploration of agri-food change in English. And in fact, we are discussing the avocado chain, and we have on that collaboration with Professor Peter Messinda and the students from Must University. And to be honest with you, when we are evaluating the first year with our students, without exception, they are mentioning the collaboration with the Kenyan students of one of the highlights of the first study year. And the second year, We are offering modules as well: entrepreneurship, research, retail marketing, international business, human resource management and communications, business and organization, innovation and business management. And of course, a year project about research and consulting, advisory and consulting. At the end of year 2, we are requesting the students to make a very personal plan of how they would like to organize for themselves year 3 and year 4. They have to make a number of choices. Are they going to do a domestic and or foreign internship, although a foreign internship is compulsory? Are they following minors of their own choice outside at other universities or within us university? And they are working also on the soft skills, their professional development. Year 4, more or less the same, domestic and or foreign internships, a minor of choice, but also a professional assignment, which is lasting 20 weeks. And basically, it is their graduation project. And also in year 4, they work on the professional, personal development. The partnerships with companies is unique, and we have found over 200 companies who sign up for a partnership with Haas Green University. And the parties agree as follows, and I copied this from the partnership agreement. The parties entering into a cooperation for an indefinite period of time, hereinafter referred to as partnership, with the aim of creating the conditions under which higher education for students and trainees of Haas Green Academy can take place in the best possible way. The sector to which Party 2, which is the company, belongs, benefits from optimized higher education. More specifically, the goals for the company are the partner profiling Party 2 as a future employer of current students, mutual knowledge exchange, and development of knowledge and skills current employees. Party 2, the company who decides to become a partner of Haas Green Academy. But of course, it's a give and take situation. So the company, in return, will host at minimum once a year an excursion. And they signed up for it. They are providing a guest lecture once a year to bring in their world into the classroom. Makes facilities available, create a learning environment. For example, we are not able to invest in the latest technology. So when students are learning to work and to understand the latest milking robot, I'm just mentioning an example, then they can go to the partner company and work with the latest innovative technology. They are hosting an internship at minimum once a year. They are facilitating study projects and or professional assignments, the graduation projects. And they participate in meetings with the professional field, and we have those meetings, we run those meetings, so we can develop our curriculum towards the needs of the professional field, the companies. And of course, they commit themselves that they will also communicate about our partnership on their websites and through social medias. So it's a formal agreement, and the experience is that they take it very seriously. When we look at our curriculum and also looking at the content and the learning objectives of our modules and the assessments we are doing, we as a basis also use the taxonomy of Bloom. And in year 1, we focus on understanding and remembering. So I already mentioned, with the students we are exploring all sectors in the agri and food business. And we do that in 2 weekly cycles. So for example, 2 weeks we are exploring the fruit sector in the Netherlands, or the poultry sector. And that will start in those 2 weeks with an introduction lecture of the sector. What's going on in the sector? What are the trends and developments? What are the challenges the entrepreneurs are meeting? And we're also offering a problem-based learning case to the students. So they work themselves, they study themselves, they have a case, they need to identify and define the problem. They have to collect, study and collect information, data, and they come up with a solution to the problem which is mentioned in the case. And of course, in those 2 weeks, they are also inviting the company to come and give a guest lecture. They go on an excursion and they also do a retail visit. So they really start to understand and they will remember what's going on in that particular agri and food sector in year 1. And at the end of the year, they will also do an internship. 6 weeks they are present in the company for 1 day a week, and 4 weeks they go full-time for an internship. And then in year 2, we take a step further. And we deal, in every module, we will deal with a real-life case. So students know of how to analyze and how to apply. For example, the module entrepreneurship. Next to a written exam, there's also a project. And they work in small groups of 3-4 students together. And for example, the project assignments connected to the module entrepreneurship is analyze the entrepreneur, the person, the company, its strategy, define and conclude a replacement and or expansion investment. And it will be assessed also by the professionals. So they need to present their project outcomes, and bankers are present and they are the external assessors of the project as well. And to be honest with you, students find it highly interesting. They work on a real case. They are connected to an entrepreneur who is in real life busy with an investment, and they write the business plan, which are then being presented to the bank. And that business plan, of course, contains a investment plan and financing plan, but also the financial prognosis for the upcoming 3 years. But also another example of it is analyze the production process, and then the outcome should be present a plan for process improvement, total quality management, and advice of how to manage, mitigate process and business risks. And again, they do it with the help of the company, a partner of the HAS, and they are presenting the outcome of the project, their advice, to the company. The basis for, as mentioned, the basis for year 3 and 4 is a personal biannual plan. They make the plan themselves, so the education is very flexible, and they can follow, for example, a minor to their own knowledge needs, but they can also choose an internship as long as they are covering 3 out of the 10 learning outcomes I addressed earlier. So year 3 internships in minors, and the international internship is mandatory. Year 4, again, internships in minors, but also 20 weeks they have to do a professional assignment. And the professional assignment, they do it in a group of at minimum 2 students, at maximum 4 students. They have to achieve both a group but also an individual results. Of course, when they graduate, they do it on an individual level, of course, on an individual basis. And by definition, the project, the professional assignment, is commissioned by a company, and it is a real life case. It can be, for example, a company who took over a business in the Netherlands, and the strategy behind it, the company is from Finland in this case. They bought a company in the Netherlands, they want to expand in the European market, and they're asking themselves if the current facility in the Netherlands is the most ideal location for achieving their long strategic objectives. So the students are then researching and doing study to what is the ideal location for the company, and they advise the owners, the shareholders of the company. Projects like that. So they can show that they can do and practice applied research, and they can give advice. And as a Green University, we are guaranteeing the results to those companies. And those companies, on average 300 companies on an annual basis, they pay for this research, and they pay an amount in between 7,500 to 25,000 euros. And that is of course also important for the university. It is an income stream, and that allows us to make a better lecturer-student ratio possible. So we can coach and guide and facilitate our students in a much better way. And an individual assessment of this professional assignment is also the personal development of the students. So that's a reflection. And in that way, the students will need to prove themselves if they have become a young professional.
Hello.
Asante. So is there questions?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Boma, for that good presentation. We really appreciate. Let us appreciate Dr. Boma. We will hold on to a few questions. If there is anybody who may be having a comment or a question. Yes, Dr. Arimi, come forward.
Yes, Peter, very good presentation.
Thank you.
What I'm looking for is what are the main challenges, particularly when you're working with entrepreneurs, with students, because we try this and sometimes they say they don't have time.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? And also, how do you manage intellectual properties that emanate from some of the works that students do? Thank you.
Yeah, understood. In answer to the first question, I think the biggest challenge for us in the first year is to make the students realize that they do have themselves the ownership of the learning process. So create that awareness to motivate themselves and not just to sit in a lecture room and only receive information and knowledge provided by a lecturer. So we activate them. And I think the teachers within Haas University are more manager of a learning process, and we focus on the process, than that we are the traditional lecturer. And that is for both students, but also for lecturers, that is a continuous challenge. But also the companies, they need to be aware of their role and also their responsibility. And of course, I call them external assessors, but they are not accredited to our official assessor. So they are actually advising the lecturers on the assessment. The second question is intellectual ownership. First of all, if the companies who are the commissioners of those research projects, they can request for a non-disclosure agreement. And that goes along with a penalty. And secondly, in this case, the companies are paying for it. So they automatically are becoming the owner of the data as well. So usually the abstract is twofold. So when it's sensitive and how do I say that? Sorry, I'm still not a native speaker. When something is secret, secret and commercial information, financial information, that then will not be mentioned in, let's say, the research abstract. So there is an abstract for public publishing, and there is an abstract for the company which contains all the details, the data, the financials, and the advice. So we make a split there. But for us, it's more important that students are proving that they are capable to to do the research and show that they are capable of entering the business world or to continue for a master, because that's of course also a possibility.
Thank you very much, Dr. Boma, for responding to those two questions.
Pleasure.
I believe anybody else with a comment? Again, let me say on behalf of Meru University and the entire organizing committee, we are very grateful that you found time and you are patient enough to share with us your presentation. And we look forward to a few of us getting in touch with you through Professor Masinde, so that, as you say, this program can be realized or can be experimented with him here. Thank you very much. And
I'm in continuous discussion with Peter Masinde about this, and also next week I will visit Kenya to work on a project where we are collaborating with Must University, and I do look forward to it.
Thank you very much and welcome. We look forward to seeing you when you visit Meru University of Science and Technology.
Asante. Kwaheri ya kwa mama.
Asante sana.
Asante.
Yes, asante. Let's appreciate him again. Okay, thank you. Now I think we've listened to our three guest speakers, as well as Dr. Abdallah. And I told you to spare your questions and comments to a time when we can ask them directly to them. We want to spare 5 minutes only, so that those who may be having any questions to Dr. Abdallah, who is still with us here, or comments, can bring them forward, and then you can respond to them before we move to the next level of these presentations. Good. I think Dr. Abdallah talked about the teaching methodologies and the effect of disability on various students. We have your contact in case of anybody who may be interested to make a follow-up of the two studies. Then we can share with them and they can be able to communicate with you. Otherwise, we want to thank you very much, to thank you for the patience that you've had and time to come from Tanzania and sit with us here during this conference. Thank you, and we welcome you again to Meru University of Science and Technology. The honor is ours, and we hope that we shall be able to repay that honor by coming to University of Dodoma. Thank you and welcome. Okay, in furtherance to what is happening, we're going to move to the next level. And we've got a few presentations that were not done in the morning, and we want to see how we can combine them together with the presentation that were lined up in the afternoon. And I want to vacate the seats and leave that responsibility of listening to the 3 presentations that were not given in the morning, and the 5 presentations that are lined up this afternoon to our able Daktari, Dr. Moria, who is here with me, and Dr. Moria is going to preside over or to chair the next session, and he will lead us. Please, Dr. Moria, welcome. Otherwise, thank you very much for giving me your time to chair the sessions for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for that leadership. You've done very good job. Thank you. Thank you. So we're moving on straight to the next presenters. Okay. He's asking. Well, am I audible enough? Yes. So now we have, I think, Kerry. So each will make a presentation for 10 minutes. And if you, when we call you, you are not there in time, we already the clock has started, so we will stop you.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. I'm Magana Kelly, and I'm a researcher. I was dealing with the topic, the influence of family background on academic performance for people with disabilities in special schools in Meru County. I happen to be one of the researchers here in Meru University by the project that was done by my mentor there, Dr. Amos. That is on competence network for inclusion and assistive technologies. And just a brief what we were doing. We were trying to improve the productivity of people living with disability using ICT, that is using the technology. So we were fabricating assistive gadgets, then we disseminated them in three centers, and it's functional. So this research, after the students, those people who are living with disability have used the technologies in their studies, we discovered that some students perform well, others have not performed well. So we decided to check what are some of the factors that can be influencing some students perform well and others not perform well. So we identified the main factor, the immediate factor, that is the family background. That's why we came with the influence of family background on academic performance of people with disability in special schools in Meru. I've done it with Dorothy, Bundi, Guyo, Amos Chege, Dismas Kitaria, and Jeffrey. Yes, there is a brief on the rise of disabilities in the country. As you can see there, we have the mobility. The mobility issues is on the rise. So with the use of technology, we are able to bridge that gap of mobility. That's why, sorry. On the introduction, we say that the goal of sustainable development in education is to ensure inclusivity, equity. To have that environment that is inclusive in education sector for people who are immobile, those who are enabled differently. We don't call them disabled, we call them people who are enabled differently. For them to move from one point to another, it's a bit cumbersome. That's why when the government rolled out these programs of studying online, the blended learning, we saw it wise to investigate, can it be workable? That's why the research agrees with Guyo and Chege in their research that was done in 2018, that ICT improved the academic performance of PWDs. PWDs is people with disabilities in Meru County. So the use of ICT in education has been increasing, whereby we have the increased blended learning, the distance learning, people are able to study online. So we wanted to establish that also these people who are living with disability can also be partakers. They can be able to do their studies there online without the barriers of mobility. On ongoing campaigns to help people with disabilities deploy ICT resources. However, there are factors, as I said earlier, there are factors that are affecting them in accessing the technology. So the study seeks to establish how family background influences the academic performance of people with disability in Meru County when using ICT. We know everyone is a candidate to disability. You can wake up tomorrow, you don't know what is happening. But That aside. Yeah, the objective was to examine the impact of family backgrounds on the academic performance of people with disabilities when you're utilizing ICT resources. Yeah, on that we had two variables that we were investigating. There is the people with disabilities academic performance, which was the independent, and the independent, and the independent was the family background. And on family background, we are checking the support from their families, the education background of their parents, and nature of possession. The methodology is descriptive. We use descriptive because we are adding knowledge, right? We are trying to improve our understanding on disability aspect as far as ICT is concerned. Yeah, we used there is a formula there that we use to get the disability, the sample size. Then the findings, I'm going fast because of the time. Kindly bear with me. Yeah, on the findings, we found out that level of education, you can see there the frequency, number of parents who had formal education, primary, secondary, graduate. Yeah. Then on guardians, I'll explain shortly after we've done the analysis. Then on the guardians' nature of employment, we find out that most of the parents, yeah, the 32% were not employed. 35% had informal employment. For formal employment, we had 32.1. Then for support, we have 74% confirmed that they were being supported. Then 15.4 never had, they were not in a position to discuss or be encouraged concerning the aspect of education. Then 10% confirmed that they haven't received any support. Yeah. So we tested our hypothesis. We were guided by a hypothesis that there is no significant relationship between family background and the use of ICT in academics for persons with a disability in Meru County. So the testing was performed using multiple linear regression at a confidence level of 5%. And as you can see there, we have our R squared, which is 31.6. That means the effectiveness of our model could only explain 31% that the relationship established between ICT and the academic performance of people living with disability is 31.6%. Yes, as I conclude, I'm almost concluding. So this is below average. We were pushed forward to do a multiple regression between the level of education, parents' profession, and support from parents, whereby, as you can see, the beta and standardized coefficient for beta, you can see that it's 0.47. That means that for 1 unit of support, for 1 unit of level of education, there's what we call a positive correlation. It is affecting positively by 0.047. For parents' profession, it's affecting positively for 0.404. Then for support from parents, our research finds that it's affecting negatively 0.31. Yes. So testing on a 5% confidence interval, the analysis indicated that there is no statistically significant relationship between the family background and the use of ICT. Therefore, the null hypothesis, we could not reject it. And as you can see, the pi values on the significant values, they are above 0.05. That's why we were not able to reject the null hypothesis that say that there is no statistically significant relationship between family background and the use of ICT. Yes. So as we conclude, recommendations. Despite the lack of significant relationship, it is important to continue promoting the use of ICT for people with disabilities in academic setting, so that we can achieve that inclusivity in the academic sector. Also, ICT can still provide valuable tools and resources for learning, communication, and skill development. Also, we find out that it is not only family background that affects the productivity of these people as far as academic is concerned. Yeah? So, recommendation for other researchers also can explore other factors that may influence the use of ICT in academics for people with disabilities, such as individual abilities, assistive technologies. You can check also on infrastructure and also the availability and accessibility of the ICT resources. This, I'm sure, will help in identification of additional areas to support and intervene. Yeah, so that is all.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. So now next is Dr. Yes, please. We hold on to questions, so we will await them when we are through. Thank you. Please lay down your questions.
Thank you. We are presenting, my name is John Voita. I'm presenting on behalf of Beatrice Nyaga and myself. For some reason, we decided that I present, although she is the originator of the idea. And so I'm going to try and do a quick job. So, factors affecting consumer acceptance and attitudes towards genetically modified food products in the world. This is a review paper. Okay, so we are all aware about issues to do with food security, the fact that it's a major issue of concern in the world today. We are aware, or hopefully we should be aware, that 800 million people or more are undernourished or food insecure at the moment. And this problem is worse in Africa compared to other areas for many reasons, including post-harvest losses in foods, increased population, and vice versa. We are also aware, hopefully, that some of the mitigation strategies that scientists have come up with include genetically modified foods using biotechnology techniques, and there are various crops that have been produced, maize, corn, all these kind of crops. But we are also, I would like also to remind us that the benefits of GM foods are not fully realized, and especially in Kenya, because we usually have a divide of two kinds of people. We have the proponents who really advocate for GM foods, and we have those who are passionately opposed to them for various reasons, such as safety, environmental issues, moral concerns, religious issues, all those kind of issues. And usually, these two groups talk at each other. They don't communicate. Everybody thinks they are right, and everybody is very much opposed to what everyone else is saying. And so we wanted to understand what are the issues in literature. And so we decided to do a literature search of all the available material on genetically modified foods in order to see what influences consumer acceptance and attitudes towards this genetically modified foods. Okay, we did a Google Scholar search and we used those keywords. I don't want to read them. And the findings, after that Google Scholar search, we're using those keywords, we found that in general, that acceptance of GMFs is influenced by factors like gender, education level, age, public trust in government, and other proponents of biotechnology products. And just a quick look at each of those factors: gender, According to a research done in Uganda, females were more accepting to GM foods compared to males. And the explanation was that females in Africa are the ones who produce the food, so the wearer knows where the shoe pinches, as they say, so females will be more likely to accept issues to do with GM foods. Das et al. 2016, in a study I think done in India, also found that males were more resistant to GMFs than females, and the ratios are given there. But according to some studies done in the US, like Harrison et al. 2004, then we find the opposite. Females are less willing to accept. So in conclusion, that the same results are found in Hossein and Onyango 2004, where male consumers are more likely to accept GM foods than females. So overall, gender-specific differences to GM foods are there, but they vary across geographic locations. We cannot say that because in Kenya it's like this, it's going to be the same in Uganda, it's going to be the same everywhere else. So we have gender differences, but they are not the same across geographical locations. Let's go to education level. That study in 2003 by Harman et al. Found that the level of education in the using Italian and US models in Italy, consumers with less than high school education category were more willing to purchase GM foods. So the lower the education, the more willing they were to accept GM foods. In the US, it was the opposite. The higher the education, the more they were willing to accept GM foods. In Uganda, consumers who had attained tertiary level of education were 3 times more likely to accept GM foods compared to those who had less levels of education. In summary, and I've listed several other, we have listed several other papers, the same trend is found. We have education influencing acceptance of GM foods, but not the same, in the same way across geographic locations. In some places, education seems to be inversely proportional to the level of acceptance. In some other places, it is direct. So, and that's still the same Zhang et al. Education. What about age? What's the difference between, or the influence of age on acceptance on GMFs? Harrison et al. 2004, we found that people who are young, that's below 35 years, were more willing to consume beef that has come from GM cattle. And of course, the age here was the older the people, the less they were willing to accept. And that's the same for Fleur 2003. But for Hossein et al. 2003, they found that middle-aged white men were more willing to accept GM foods than those who were younger or much older. And the same thing with Korea. Again, the same factor. Age is an issue, but it doesn't vary the same way across geographic locations and across demographic groups of people. We have people responding differently depending on geography. Okay, public trust in government. We found, after looking at the literature, that public trust in government and other proponents, organizations of the GM debate, influences whether people will accept or not accept. And we found that the ratings across the organizations could be classified into 3 groups, where scientists were more trusted, like you and I. Watchdogs, such as environmental organizations, were somewhat trusted. Governments were the least trusted. We wanted to present this paper in the presence of the PS in the morning, and we wanted it to come out quite clear that governments are least trusted when it comes to these matters. So the influence of the person who is giving the messaging, okay? So that slide doesn't look very nice. It was better in my slide. But I wanted to look at, I'm sorry, it doesn't look very nice, but we wanted to just summarize this by looking at some of the in kind of like a summary, what are some of the effects, or what have people done, or what can be done to sort of improve people's acceptance of GMFs. We found a paper in which they said corporate social responsibility. If the proponents of GMFs also engage in CSR activities, then the chances of being accepted are higher. Then the other issue that we wanted to look at is packaging and dissemination of information. We listed this issue based on the fact that I am one person who's been thinking that partly the reason why people don't accept GMFs is because there is not enough information out there, especially on questions of safety. So we did a search on Google Scholar using biotechnology and genetically modified foods, and just that search gave hits of about 144 papers. I classified them based on titles, just their titles. Articles that are dealing on commercial issues, consumer acceptance, were 76, that is 52.8%. Actions, articles that were dealing with food safety, public health messages, they were 41 or 28.5%. Articles that had both kinds of messages were 39 or 27.1% of the message. And so the message here is there is no shortage of information available on each one of these issues. Food safety, possible toxicity, all those issues, there is a lot of information out there in the internet. But why don't we know? Or maybe I should ask, how many of us are aware whether the whole hype about safety of GMFs is true or not true? Whether it's founded on facts or not on myths? And we felt that my time is up. Thank you. That's okay. That's okay.
Next presenter is Professor Remy. Those who are joining us, please make sure you have your questions for the presenters. We will be asking them questions when we are through.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. My name is Remy. I will be presenting on evaluation of potential of using camel meat to process various meat products, in particular sausages, meatballs, and burgers. And in part of introduction is camels are mainly reared in arid and semi-arid regions, which constitute around 80% of Kenya's landmass. And the camel that we keep normally in Kenya is dromedary camel, and it's mainly for meat, milk, recreation, and other purposes. In terms of all camel production, so that we see where Kenya falls, we have around about 7 million of camels, so Kenya is around 4 or 5 million, which is comparable quite well. What are the nutritional benefits of camel meat? In terms of protein, the concentrations are slightly higher in camel meat than any other meats due to lower fat in camel meat. And the amino acid balance is comparable with the other meats. Protein is highly digestible as compared to the other meats. And also bioavailability in terms of amino acids and protein, that data is not there, so that's a gap that can be studied. Fat concentrations are generally low in camel meats compared to the other animals. Fats will depend on the diets that the camels take, and the minerals are comparable to bovine meat. What are the camel meat products that are in the market? The common one is nyiri, which is fried and dried camel meat. Normally, they cut it like this into strips and dry it. I think there are very few women groups in this country that do that. In terms of processing, there's only one process in this country, Northern Meat Product in Isiolo processes some meat product. why are we processing camel meat products? We have said Kenya is a home of about 5 million camels. That's around 13% in the world. But there are no commercially processed meat products of camels except from northern meat. It's only currently processed into Nyeri. And the fact that camels can withstand adverse climatic conditions due to climate change and other aspects. Pastoralists are facing away cows and dairy animals and other small ruminants in place of camels. So it's they are accruing very minimum benefits from camels. So by processing the meat, we expect the hunters to accrue better benefits. So the main objective was to evaluate the potential of processing those meat products. We process those meat products, we analyze the nutrition and chemical composition, and also we carry out the sensory evaluation to see if they are acceptable by consumers. The methodology, the meat the research sites was one in Isiolo in Garemara and one in Kalale in Marsabit, so we had 10 camels in each site. 5 camels were supplemented with feeds, 5 were not supplemented. We fed them for 3 months, monitoring the weights weekly. I will not present that data, I want only the meat product. Then we slaughtered the camels and processed various meat products. First, the one that we yearned for supplemented feeding, so we formulated the feeds, which in this country we looked for the feeds everywhere, we couldn't find any feeds. So we started by formulating our own feeds. We put up a structure for the feeding of camels. This Dr. Biakun with some of the feeds. This is the team we were working with. Camel meat sausages, so not sausage, but sausages were processed and other product at Meru University in the food science department. Most of the sensory evaluation was conducted at our Kalo Women Group to ascertain with the real consumers of camel meat. In terms of analysis, we did protein analysis, fat, ash, amino acid, minerals, and sensory evaluation. In terms of approximate composition, for the burger, for the meatball, soup means supplemented and soup means unsupplemented. What we realized for the supplemented, most of the compositions were higher compared, in some instances, compared to the unsupplemented. And one of particular key is the fat, which has been documented with other authors that when you supplement with the feeds, the fat increases in the meat product. In terms of minerals, this supplemented, I didn't include standard deviation because they were quite small. We observed readings of higher values more on supplemented meat than unsupplemented. The same way for the burger and the same way also for the sausages. We observed slightly higher values compared to the unsupplemented. In terms of sensory, we have summed up all the results together so that we have at least a key way of evaluating. We are not presenting for each product. In terms of taste, we could see 60% of the finalists preferring the supplemented. Color is more or less close. Texture, this is how it is tender, how it's soft. The supplemented was considered more soft. Then the aroma, the supplemented was higher. In terms of overall acceptance, mostly the panelists preferred the supplemented, and this is because of basically the fat factor. It's because the higher the fat, the more the product is tasty, the more it's considered to be softer, and the more preferred by the consumers. So in conclusion, it was possible to process burgers and more meatballs and sausages, and the nutritional composition of camel meat product was comparable with other meats. Camel meat sensory properties were comparable, but the ones that were supplemented were more preferred than unsupplemented ones. So we acknowledge various funding organizations, Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture, National Research Fund, and the other institutions that we work with, and also Anolei and our Kalo Women Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Amy, for that presentation. Is this my phone?
No, it's
Oh, thank you. So, yeah. So we are doing very well. We have 3 more presentations to close. The next presenter is Jacqueline McMurtry. We have Jacqueline, that's it. Is it Jacqueline or no?
It's not being presented today.
It is in the schedule today?
Yes, but
So
she's not here.
she is not in. Oh, thank you. Then we have Joshua Tambura. We have Tambura out or someone on his
No,
behalf
Tony is not presenting.
is not presenting today. Then the last presentation should be done by Daniel Maitedia or someone representing Maitedia. No. That means we have come to the end of our presentation today. So I will give Dr. Rebecca Ibele to handle the part of the questions.
Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for your attention. Now we can take up the questions. Maybe the presenters can come forward. We have Kelly Magana, Dr. Puita, and Professor Arim. Any questions? We start with Magana. Any questions for Mr. Magana? Any question or comments? For Dr. John Twitter, any question? Any comments?
Thank you, Chair. One question in relation to genetically modified foods. The authors did a Google search for the articles with various terminologies. I would like to know how many articles did it generate, and if it generated a certain number of articles, how did they narrow down to the articles they kept on citing and referring to? And in that search, what was the period of, in terms of which years? Is it since maybe 1970 to 2023, or what was the period? How many articles? How did they narrow down to the ones they are citing? And what was the period? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take another question. Yes, over there.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Kimadi. A question on genetically modified foods. On the issues of age and gender, we can understand. But there's the issue of education, which I think cuts across all the places. I thought that on education, we should read from the same page, from more people, from more countries, so that we can have a common understanding. Or does it mean that probably we read different things in different countries? That was my worry. Probably you can tell us how that came to be.
Thank you. Also, I have a question for Dr. John Waiter. From the articles that they searched, they looked at gender issues were mentioned, education was mentioned, age was mentioned, public trust was mentioned. I didn't see some of the things I find in the media every day. Cultural issues. We saw in Kenya religious issues were very prominent until they came out to give press, and also ethical matters. Especially, we know how it is, especially when we are dealing with like stem cells worldwide, the kind of heat it generates. So I didn't know, or you never came across those papers. And also with regard to education, your articles only mentioned the level of education. But did they also mention the type of education? Because when I interact with the civil engineers on these matters, the way they think about GMO is similar to my grandmother also, sometimes, but they are well educated. So did the type of education influence housing? Thank you.
Thank you. There's another hand there.
Yeah. I have a question, a short one to Professor Remy on the supplemented fees for camels. My question was on the cost effectiveness of the fee, considering the rise in food prices and the expensive standard of living right now.
Thank you. My question is directly to Dr. Twitter. I would like to know whether your review considered publications from Asia, because I've seen comparisons to the US, Europe, and probably Africa. Number two, you say that people trusted scientists, or rather researchers, more than the government. But I thought that scientists do research, and of course they develop policies which are supposed to be implemented by the government. Is it that they don't trust the policies put in place or the politicians? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have a question? Ada, yes, another hand there, another one there.
Thank you so much for your presentation. To Dr. Professor Remy, I would like to ask, the increase in the nutritional values that you saw in the supplemented can of meat, was it significant or not significant? Thank you.
My name is Rafael Karanja. A question to Professor Remy. What do you think what do you think is the reason why we have more meat, more fats in the sample whereby there was improved formulated feeds than the comparison? Why do we have more fat in the meat? What could be the effect?
Okay, thank you. Any other? 1, 2 more questions? I think that would be all. Maybe start with Dr. Twitter. You can respond to the 4 questions.
Maybe I can stand, or I can. Thank you to the people who have asked questions. I'm going to start with the question from Professor Remy, and my colleague will help me to answer them, because like I said, we did it together. Professor Remy wanted to know the search criteria we use, the number of literature that we were able to get from that search, and whether there was, we limited it as per period, time period. I hope Professor Remy got everything you wanted to know from that question. First of all, I want to say that this is a work in progress. Although we presented it, this is a work we are doing. We are intending to actually write a complete review article with a little bit more information than what we have presented. But for what we have presented today, we didn't limit it in terms of time period. We didn't limit. We just used the search words that I have given there. And then we selected just randomly a couple of literature that was available, and we referred to them. But like you have heard, for most of the issues that we raised, the results were actually the same. You could come to one country and find educated people are preferring, are more amenable to adopting GMFs. You go to another place and you find it's the exact opposite. So there was no uniformity when it comes to responses from one country going to another country as far as the literature is concerned. And that is why the slide that was messed up, the one that I found it difficult to explain because it was messed up, we attempted to provide some numbers just using one search item, 2 keywords. And I said, for those 2 keywords only, We found 144 literature, and I tried to classify them according to the areas that they were dealing with. There were some that were dealing with marketing, the literature, the GMFs acceptable to people. Some were dealing with safety issues, toxicity, public health matters, and there were some that were dealing with general issues. So they were having comments on all of those issues. So Professor Remy, that's what I can say to your question. This is a work in progress, but this is what we have done that far. On the question from Kimadi about education, I hear you, Mr. Kimadi. One would imagine that education does the same thing to all of us, but no, it doesn't. Apparently, for some people, the more they know, the more they are afraid of GMFs. The more they are educated, the more they think GMFs are not good. And I'm sure even here, if we did a survey, I wish we could do a survey here among the educated people who are in this room. How many of us favor GMFs? I'm sure if we ask that question, I can see Rebecca's hand is going down. And I can see others who would also be. So, Mr. Kimadi, I hear you, but unfortunately, that's the literature. This is a literature review, and that is the literature. People don't respond the same way, even though they are educated. For the purpose of this paper, Dr. Moria, we have not been able to say about the type of education, but just looking at the extent of the education level. And Beatrice can answer. But of course, if people are engineers or agriculturists, there are literature that show you that they will respond differently from computer scientists and something like that. Cultural issues, again, the last slide, some of the last slides that I wasn't able to talk about, I wanted to try and bring out some of those issues about safety issues, cultural issues, communication of available information, digesting the information that's available, scientific information that's available on the net, to kind of information that the public can consume, that the public can understand. Because the point we are making here is there is a lot of information, yes, but is the public able to consume that information that is there in the web? Can we develop a strategy to digest that information and package it in a way that the public can consume that information and make informed choices on GMFs? Reviews from Asia, they were there. We quoted one, Zhang et al. From China, and others, they were there. As you could see, we couldn't put too many literature on those points, but they were there. Trust in government. It's a fact that a lot of people, when it comes to the GMF debate, don't trust the government. As to why that is the case, you and I can debate that issue from morning to cockcrow. But it's a fact that a lot of people, even like what happened recently when the government of Kenya said whatever they said about GMFs, what did you hear from the media? A lot of uproar, yeah? A lot of comments that seem to suggest that people have misgivings or they have suspicions. I think I stop there.
Thank you. Before you sit down, first, I know we have softwares that are available now for analyzing the work you are doing. Maybe because you might not be able to read 500 papers or 1,000 papers as you go. Then you also need to know what the percentage of representation that Google Scholar does, because we have bought other search engines for that information. So it is good to know that it is 70% perhaps of what could be available in that topic. And also the other aspect is still what Professor Remy was talking about. Scholars would also want to know the limits in terms of time between this year and this year. I think we have also guidelines that will guide us in doing such a search based on the inference of certain information, because perhaps information that was published in 1970s might not be useful to influence some of the consumers now. Maybe we want to look at that later. Starting the software that's available, you can enter the topic, and the software has note the information on what the paper is looking at from the search engines, and then you can move on.
Thank you. Just a follow-up, I think, still on Dr. Twitter, on what Professor Remy does about the time period. I think you responded by saying it's a work in progress. But I'm wondering, when you're doing the review, from which year publications are you considering to date? I think it did come out clearly.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. I mentioned that in our search we did specify the time period, but the literature that we use from 2000 coming back to the current.
2000 to date?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think that would be all for Dr. Twitter, Dr. Remy. Before Dr. Remy, you respond, maybe I can also add on my question. You had 3 questions, I can add a 4th one. I can see from your results the most preferred. The most preferred one was the one that was supplemented, and you are alluding this to the high fat content. What would you recommend then? Should we supplement these kernels or should we not? Do we want that extra fat in our meat products, or would we rather have the non-supplemented ones and add some healthy fat to improve on overall acceptability? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wish to respond to the 4 questions. The first one was the cost effectiveness. Perhaps in the presentation it didn't come out. What we are making is more climate smart and just for supplementing, not for actual feeding. We are doing this to mitigate one of the things that we see with the camel hunters and driving camels to farms during drought. So at that point, cost does not come a factor. It's either the camel dies or you save it. So that's the essence. But if you do mathematics, it's not cost effective. Is increase significant? What also I can tell the audience is because the unsupplemented and supplemented, they all went out to feed together. But when the camels that we call supplemented came back, they were given extra feed at around 1.5% of body weight. So by that fact, the ones that were supplemented were getting more than the others. So the member who asked about significance, most of the results actually were significant. Difference, although I didn't indicate the letters. Then what do I think more fat in formulated feeds? I can still relate to what I've said, because the basic thing is the ones supplemented were consuming more feed, and also the feed was formulated in terms of to optimize nutrients, so they were getting more than the others, so fat could be more. The other question is, do we go for supplemented because of higher fat? This is a two-edged sword, and I will put it in the context. If you are a lecturer in Meru University, you do not prefer fat. But if you're in the desert where there is no other food, this fat is essential. Because we need to put it in the context. I have been even asked this question again somewhere else about animal milk in the desert and plant-based milk. The people in the desert, they have no other food. It's only this. So getting that fat, actually, it keeps them going. Those people who have worked there, Dr. Meru can attest, they carry sugar to giving them energy as they move. So if you are really talking about people living actually in arid and semi-arid areas, that fat is an added advantage. If we are talking of somebody living a sedentary life, that's not an added advantage. It depends now in the context of where this meat will be consumed. Thank you.
Looks like these animals, they came together, they came home together.
Yes.
And then others went somewhere, others were given more food.
Yes.
That's a serious question.
No, I can explain.
I'm just joking.
I can explain, members. It looks odd, but even to train them to eat that unread food was work by itself, right? Even training them to start eating the formulated foods was work by itself. These are initial studies, and also ethical issues. You know, you can't close an animal in an enclosure that is not used to that and wait until you supplement. Actually, it's unethical. Whereas the others are browsing. You know, this is browse, and they have not evolved to the extent like the way we have dairy cows that you put in the zero grazing. These are animals that are used to browsing, and that's their lifestyle. So if you remove them from that environment of browsing, sometimes you stress them, sometimes they experience different distress. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe Dr. Yakuma and team, social scientists, will find a way of looking at these animals and see how they react to each other. I don't know. Thank you very much for your coming to the end of this session. I think with that we have come to the end of our session. We have some more time. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the presenters who availed themselves. Even those who did not avail themselves, I'm sure they are held somewhere else, and there's a reason for that. We want to thank our IT team for the good job they have done yesterday and today. Sometimes it's very difficult, in a very difficult environment, but they have made it work for all of us, including being able to listen to those who are beyond our borders. We also want to thank the audience. I see a number of people who were here yesterday. Maybe almost half of these are people who are really interested in this, and we want to thank you very much for being here and coming to listen to us, including the guys from my team, Dr. Chele, who loves agriculture. Is right there. Thank you very much for working with us. We also want to thank the organizers. I think I have seen almost in every theater there is a rep who is taking care of us. Anybody from the organizers here? I think you've done a very good job when you go to do your review. You say we are grateful that you've been able to put us in a good environment and taking care of us. I think that is it. We thank those who have helped us, the rapporteurs and the chairs of the session since morning, and everybody else that have not been able to mention. We come to the end. Please, tomorrow we also have a session. Without you being here, the agriculture and food security would not be successful. So we request those of us, because this is our duty being here and taking part of this, to be part here. Tomorrow we have a very big session. We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Am I right? Yes. But it's from morning to 15:05. So we requesting all of us to be available for that session, so that we can also help our chairman and rapporteurs to take us through this session. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Please don't forget your personal items inside here.
Prayers.
Sure. I thought God had. I said God bless you. But somebody to pray for us. Please, do you have someone to pray for us? We have a pastor here. Oh, he says
Let's stand up. Let's pray. Lord, we want to thank you for a good day. We want to thank you for every presentation that has been made here today. We want to thank you for every presenter that took time to come. We want to thank you for all those who came to give constructive criticism of this of these presentations. And Lord, we just want to pray that now as we go back to our places, that you will go with us, give us strength for another day tomorrow. For in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.